Hello there. Hi. Bonjour. Bon dios. Is that right?
Buenos dias?
I think it's bon dios, right?
What's bon dios?
Is that maybe Italian?
Portuguese?
Portuguese?
I don't know.
I don't know. What's up? How you doing?
Hi.
My name is Jake Quarry. That is Derek Schultz. Neither of us speak any language other than the language of sports, and that's what we are here to do today on the ISC Sports Network. This is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named Quarry and Schultz program, brought to you by, as always, our friends at Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, who, by the way, their official spokesperson, the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, Jeff Saturday. Mortgage in a snap. We are in the Lou Malnati's studio right here, Hoagie and Hops. Also, of course, Chateau Kitchens, Love Heating and Air. Just some of the sponsors that you'll see WGU Indiana over the course of this program. But, Derek.
I'm going to Vanna White this whole thing. I'm just going to do all the hand motions.
Did you like Vanna White?
Yeah, who didn't like Vanna White?
Do you remember when she was in Playboy?
I do, yeah.
You were like 4.
I know of it.
Okay.
People have older brothers.
Did you shut down your parents' computer with that?
No.
Like
let's
you did that,
let's
was that the
let's
Pamela Lee?
talk about the big news of the day. Colts a big W and a big one for Jeff Saturday.
It was a big win for the Colts over the Raiders. You know, in the grand scheme of things, Derek, we may look back and realize that this told us as much about the Raiders as the Colts, perhaps.
Sure.
But still, you take the win. It was cool for Jeff Saturday. It silenced a lot of critics in terms of that, at least temporarily. And their offensive line played well, and that was the big difference, I thought.
Yeah, 100%. It's amazing what happens with a healthy Jonathan Taylor playing behind a competent offensive line, what this offense can do.
Can you zip that all the way up?
My neck's probably too thick.
It doesn't look terrible.
It looks horrible.
Sometimes if I do that, then I get like a triple chin look.
I look like a British knight that has no helmet on, like when I'm in my armor. Like this looks terrible. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
Plus, what I want is for people to get just a little taste. Little taste, just to wet the palate. Wet the palate a little bit with those little black curlies in there. Hi. Getting back to it, Jake, yeah, it probably doesn't mean anything, but it's weird because I feel like we have to approach Sunday's game differently than we would have because of everything that changed for the Colts, even in the minutes leading up to the game. You're preparing for it to be a Sam Ehlinger-led offense until warm-ups.
Sam Ehlinger.
And then you see what happens where Ryan is taking all the snaps with the ones, and then news starts to trickle out. Hey, wait a minute. I think the Colts are going with Ryan here. And then it sort of adjusts your expectations of what that game could be. Because say what you want about both quarterbacks, both guys are pretty limited. Clearly, Ryan gives you the best chance to win.
No doubt about that.
At least in the now. So part of me was kind of like, I don't get the point of this because Ryan's not part of the future. This is a lost season, so who cares? But then almost during the course of the game, just with it being Parks Frazier and Jeff Saturday and all this newness, I start thinking to myself, fine, let's see if they can't win this game. Like, I'm on board with what they're trying to sell me, and I was defensive against what the Colts are trying to sell me all week.
This is what I can't figure out. What are they trying to sell you?
Because it changes every day. It changes every hour.
Are they playing for now?
I mean, yeah, they are.
Then why did they go 2 weeks with Sam Ehlinger?
This is what I think ended up happening. I think, and you saw Monday night's press conference. You saw how defensive and defiant. It's actually amazing to me. We haven't even talked to you guys since then. I mean, that feels like it was a month ago with everything that's happened to the Colts. But that technically happened Monday night after we taped this show. He was defensive. He was defiant. He was arrogant.
You talking about
Irsay, which I don't usually see from Jim Irsay. Jim Irsay doesn't, he doesn't strike me as an arrogant person. And I think the mindset for Irsay changed in seeing how much Saturday and the Colts turned into a punching bag all week, especially in national media circles, about wanting to validate this decision. And clearly Irsay giving those interviews to Kravitz and Mike Chappell showed that he wanted to fight against the tanking narrative. So I think they hard corrected because they wanted to fight against what was being said about them. That's my personal belief of what happened.
I thought, to me, what was interesting, the inconsistencies through all of this have been very interesting to me. Because I don't know from 1 hour to the next at times that they knew what the long term is, or maybe there were multiple approaches. But you had in Las Vegas a Colts team that was coached by someone picked by the owner.
Mm-hmm.
That was quarterbacked by someone who was theoretically picked by the general manager, but then removed at the
Behest
decision
of the
and the push by the owner.
Yeah, clearly.
You had an offensive line that was a disaster put together by the general manager and then seemingly resurrected by the head coach who'd been picked by the owner by the removal of a key part that was the pillar of defiance by the general manager. And then you had on the other sideline coaching incompetency that they were able to beat, who was the original coaching choice of the general manager, whose backup plan then was picked by the owner, who was then fired by the owner and general manager, and the replacement from the owner.
Yes, I actually followed all of that. I know that's very complicated and convoluted.
It is,
but I actually followed all of that.
And that all makes, I mean, what I'm saying, and so there were, then the thing to me, Derek, that is the most complex, enigmatic, frustrating to an extent, the Colts are, what is their record right now?
4-5-1.
1, right? So that means going into the game, they were 3-5-1.
Mm-hmm.
They got beat pretty handily in New England, obviously.
Yeah, that was a game they were not going to win.
What if Matt Ryan had been there and they played well at the line? Then it's coin flip, right?
Maybe. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a reach. The Washington game, I think they win with Ryan.
Okay, so that puts them then at, if they had won that Washington game.
Yeah, 5-4-1. They'd have a winning record right now.
And potentially that close, had they never made. So what I'm getting at is, we're making the same point here. The 2-game Sam Ehlinger experiment is just the crapshoot in all of this. It makes no sense. It made no sense at the time, and it certainly makes no sense now. None.
I think the rationalization at that time was Irsay said, we look dead right now. We need a spark. And I think it was a combination of that plus this offensive line is a disaster. We need somebody who can move back there.
Well, I think that's true.
I think it was a combination of those two things. But I think also Irsay could say whatever he wants, or Ballard, or even Reich if he was part of this process, which I don't necessarily. I think this was taken out of his hands. I think it was creeping into their heads that this is a lost season. So let's just go ahead and transition into the next thing. And then it became, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe this isn't a lost season. And we want to prove that we're smarter than everybody else, so let's go ahead and do this. Jake, regardless of what decisions we make and the mixed messaging and everything like that, I think what is clear here, probably the only clear thing with the Colts, is that Jim Irsay is in charge of the controls right now, and he's the only one there. He's the one in the seat. Ballard is, not even in the back seat. Ballard's not even in the trunk. I'm not sure he's a passenger in the car right now with where they are. And But
Irsay is insistent that he is.
No, he can say whatever he wants. I'm just telling you, and you see it too, what we're seeing shows us exactly what's happening with the Colts right now. There's no way Chris Ballard would have ever vouched for Jeff Saturday with no experience as an interim head coach. None. There's probably not much of a chance that Ballard would have vouched for Ryan. Maybe if he's thinking, okay, if we can win some games, I can save my job. Maybe he's thinking that, but I'm not sure that Ballard's not already thinking about what the next step is for him. Outside of Indianapolis. But this is an owner. That Monday night press conference, Jake, really opened my eyes to this whole thing.
You mean when Chris Ballard was sitting like this?
Well, not only that, but Irsay's mannerisms and his body language and what he said, I was shocked. I've never seen him like that. And he's doubling down. He wants to prove that he's smarter than everybody else. And what I'm worried about here is, and you see this with an interim coach, dead cat bounce. The scheduling gods allowed you to play the worst pass rush in the league and an incompetent head coach in Josh McDaniels, right, for your first game. Carolina dunked on Tampa, right, in that first game. Interim head coach, you get a little bit of a jolt. What's that really mean for the team going forward here? I don't want to make it seem like, oh, everything's fixed. Colts just had a coaching problem, and now Saturday's in there, now Ryan's back, and everything's going to be fine. Yesterday's game is still an outlier in the grand scheme of things, even with Ryan. We saw how much this offense struggled. But at the very least, I'm intrigued to see where it goes.
Right.
Whereas if it was still Reich, if it was still a team that was 3-6-1 right now, you wouldn't be interested in the season at all.
Derek, I have zero issue with Jeff Saturday getting the opportunity. I think Jeff Saturday brings a confidence, a positivity, a little bit of a swagger, a unifying nature about him. There's a lot that I like about Jeff Saturday. Jeff Saturday is one of those guys that you ride an elevator with him and you get off and you're like, that guy's my best friend.
Yeah, he's easy to like. I'll give him that. I still think it's kind of ridiculous, but yes, he's very easy to root for.
And so I can see where the thought process is of like, let's give this a run, right? I also think that Jeff Saturday, I have nothing to base this on. I want to make very clear in that. Since we talked last and I've had time to think about it, observe, look at the press conference, everything else, I think Jeff Saturday has been brought in for an 8-game inventory taker to then go back to Jim Irsay and say, here are the guys you run with, here are the guys you need to get rid of, here's the areas where there's an issue. And the guy that is supposed to be doing that is Chris Ballard. And if I'm Chris Ballard, I am less than comfortable in all of it. Because whether he likes it or not, whether it's true or not, perceptions become reality. And the perception right now is that at the Indianapolis Colts, Chris Ballard is, it's like if you're in a wedding. You're not the best man. You're not the groom. If you're an usher, you've been given a lot of responsibility, but what that means is like you were the last person on the cut of the bridal party.
Yeah.
He feels like an usher. He feels like he's the last
100%.
guy.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think Saturday right now, we're looking at this as him auditioning for a head coaching job. I think what this is his foot in the door to some sort of a front office role with the team.
Absolutely.
I would be very, very surprised with where we sit today if Jeff Saturday is the head coach of the team in 2023.
I would be more surprised if he's not a member of the team.
That's what I mean. I would be more surprised if he doesn't have some role in this organization moving forward. I think that's what this is about. This was Irsay even talked about in the press conference. We asked him to be O-line coach. No. We asked him to be in the front office. No. Finally, we're like, fine, be the head coach of the team. I dare you to say no to this. And even Saturday was like, I can't say no to this, right? That's what I think is that was the goal of this whole thing. Just get Jeff Saturday here to be part of the organization and then move forward with him in some capacity.
Chris Ballard, again, the things that won the game for the Colts yesterday are areas where they got away from the things that Chris Ballard's thumbprint had been on. And that's a problem for Chris Ballard. I don't think Chris Ballard's terrible at what he does. Honestly, I think he's probably.
I don't either. I didn't think Reich was.
He's probably average to good at what he does. Chris Ballard has Bill Polian's gruffness without his resume, and that's an issue. And right now, it's going to hurt him because Jeff Saturday's everybody's darling favorite. Everybody loves Jeff Saturday. After the game, Jim Irsay comes in. You notice he's giving out game balls, and he's got Jeff Saturday up there, and he had to call Chris Ballard up like 3 times.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
standing in the corner of the room somewhere.
Like, we're being serious, Chris. Like, really come up here. We really do want you here for the family photo. I mean, it kind of looked like, remember the Peyton Manning party?
Yeah. John Mellencamp, Meg Ryan. Yeah. It was awkward. We're nearing the 10-year anniversary of that bad boy. Actually, no, it's already been the 10-year. Yeah, that was 2011 season. That's right. So 10 and a half years. Yeah, I was thinking 2012 because of the Super Bowl.
Right.
But, of course, that was the 2011 season.
But nonetheless, good win for the Colts, and they finally – the offensive line played well. You know, was that Jeff Saturday? Was it the decision to go away from Matt Pryor and use different personnel and Will Freeze? You know, I don't know. But the offensive line played well. Jonathan Taylor got going. And, look, one of the guys that I think we're probably going to talk about later in the show, give credit to Paris Campbell, man. I mean,
yeah, I think
played well.
The game itself is kind of an afterthought with all that happened last week. Like, I feel almost not bad, but I feel silly like breaking down, hey, Jonathan Taylor rushed for $160 and Matt Ryan didn't turn the ball over. Yeah, okay, those things happen. But it was a backdrop to everything else that was going on with the franchise over the last 7-8 days. I think what's kind of really interesting here moving forward for the Colts is when they get into free agency, and we don't know if it's going to be with a new general manager, you lean that way now, they're going to have 2 very difficult decisions to make with Bobby Okereke and Paris Campbell.
Hey, Okereke's played well, Derek.
I don't think Campbell is a 1. I don't even think he's a 2. But if Campbell is your 3rd guy, that's a pretty good place to be because he can be a playmaker. You know, statistically, if you look, his numbers don't look like much, but when you consider what the Colts offense has been this year with a competent offensive line and competent, consistent function every week, Paris Campbell would be a really good statistical receiver so far this year. I mean, he has stepped up when he's needed to, and Okereke has been fantastic. He made the play of the game yesterday on that 3rd down play.
Derek, you know me. I'm a pretty humble guy. don't.
Are we still on? This is live?
I'm not somebody who likes to tout when I say something that turns out to be correct. Partially because I'd never get anywhere.
That actually is surprisingly true about you for the most part. You're not a big "I told you so." You're very arrogant in other ways.
But there are plenty of times where I could say "I told you so," right?
Well, yeah. Now you're treading into that.
One of the things that, and it's always interesting because I think you say something and people take it. They focus on the right when they should be focusing on the left. And let me explain. At the beginning of the year, I said, maybe here, I know elsewhere, that I thought Shaquille Leonard was a player that, while very, very good, was one that was not as hard to replace as people would expect. Because there were certain areas where I felt like Shaquille Leonard's numbers, he's phenomenal at forcing turnovers. No argument. But I felt like some of his tackling numbers were the product of a defense that was funneled towards him, and that there were areas where he was even kind of limited in terms of his range, and that while he is a phenomenal talent, that I felt like the replacement of Shaquille Leonard on your roster, you probably had guys that could play at 80% his level for 40% the cost. And I mean, people took that as me saying Shaquille Leonard is an overrated player. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is perhaps his replacements, the combo of Bobby Okereke, Zaire Franklin, even E.J. Speed at times, that combination is underrated and that they could capably fill in if he's not able to go. And he may not play the rest of the year. And has their defense really missed Shaquille Leonard that much?
No. I mean, that's the bottom line.
And that goes back to, and I get it. I understand his importance not only to the team, but also just like the fan base and everything else. But where the Colts have committed a lot of their money, Shaquille Leonard, Quentin Nelson,
Ryan Kelly.
Braden Smith, Ryan Kelly. These are positions that you can get very equivalent or close to the level of production for a much lower price tag.
Yeah, it's the whole problem with their roster construction. Whereas you can't, or it's very hard to get 80% of what Josh Allen is. It's very hard to get 80% of what TJ Watt is.
Right.
It's not difficult to get 80% of Quentin Nelson. It's not. Even when he's playing at an all-pro level. Yeah, I mean, even when he's playing, like let's say that it's Quentin Nelson of 2020, it's still not hard to get that. And even if it is, that position doesn't impact like edge, like left tackle, like quarterback does to a game.
Did you see me scratch my ear?
No, I didn't.
Well, I scratched my ear. I had an itch. Do you know what celebrity used to do this on television and it was assigned to their kids, and then it turns out I found out they have a grandchild that lives in Indianapolis or lived in Indianapolis?
I know Jeff Hornacek used to do this at the free throw line.
Correct, yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the celebrity one.
Carol Burnett used to do this. And it was a hello to her kids, and then her grandkids now, her grandson.
Was she I Dream of Jeannie?
No. Carol Burnett.
Green Acres?
No. That's one of the Gabors. That's like Eva or Zsa Zsa Gabor is one of those.
Is that a person? I'm familiar with that name, Carol Burnett.
I Dream of Jeannie was Larry Hagman. Carol Burnett did a sketch comedy show. Dan,
The
beginning,
she's gonna make it after. Throws the hat up in the air?
No.
And then it stays?
No, that's Mary Tyler Moore, and she had a sitcom. Carol Burnett had like a comedy variety show. Tim Conway was on it. Harvey Korman was on it. Vicki Lawrence was a co-star. Mid to late 70s.
Burt Corman? What? Yeah, no, man. Sorry. Now we're way off of my knowledge. I have a pretty good pop culture archive to reach into.
I mean, there's from 1989.
I don't know this one.
From 1989 until the first month of 1991, you are nails. I mean, you know that stuff. You got
pretty good.
But that's about it.
Pretty good.
You got about a 14-month window to try to hit.
Nick at Night was a thing when I was a little kid. So after like 7 p.m. on Nickelodeon, they'd play all those shows. Green Acres, Mr. Ed, all that stuff.
How about TV Land?
It became that. I think Nick at Night became TV Land, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I don't remember, though, the national anthem playing at 11:59 and then the TV just being off. I don't remember that. I'm not old enough for that.
Okay.
But I do remember Nickelodeon turning into like Nick at Night, old people TV.
Up next for the Colts, the undefeated Eagles, or at least they will be theoretically undefeated if they beat the Washington Commanders.
Yep, taping this on Monday.
I think personally, Philly is going to come to Indy and the Colts going to beat them.
We were talking about this, Rakestraw and I and Sean Walker, back before you arrived. I know the Colts have the knack for doing that, winning a game that they're not supposed to win. Here's my problem, Jake. Philly is a whole different animal than the Raiders. And the Colts had to hang on for dear life to beat the Raiders, to win that game. I mean, they had to hang on for dear life. So I'm not ready to go there. I need to see this team beat a competent NFL offense and defense. And that's really something that they've only done once this year. And that was against the Chiefs. And you saw how terribly the Chiefs played, or I guess how many glaring mistakes the Chiefs made.
Well, the Chiefs, I mean, the Colts are, in terms of that Chiefs game, the Colts are a naughty word away from
pretty much
lost that game, right?
Yeah, and they're a Russ Wilson indefensible decision away from losing the Denver game, too. I mean, the only game before yesterday that they kind of went out and straight won was the Jacksonville game. And even that was a close shave. I mean, that was a game you were down, 14-3, 17-3?
It's like Burma
I
shave.
think.
Did you ever see the Burma shave?
I don't know what that is.
In these times of toil and sin, man's head grows bald but not his chin. Burma shave.
I know by men and...
Okay, that's, no.
One of those.
Peaches look great with lots of fuzz. Man's no peach and never was. Burma shave.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
The billboards.
Never heard
of
it. Never heard of it. Not really speaking my language. Let's get to our Lou Malnati's. Who's cooking for this week? This is nice. We actually don't have to do this by default. Where last week in New England you're trying to pick a who's cooking, and it was
I've got one.
hard to pick a
probably
who's
gonna be different
cooking.
than yours. But Lou Malnati's, by the way, absolutely spectacular. You see these right here? I mean, these are obviously makeshift, squeezable little fun tomatoes. These literally are like the size of the tomatoes that come on a deep dish pizza from Lou Malnati's. You're talking about a Chicago staple. I just went with my buddy Scott McConnell, who lives in Chicago now, has for 25 years. His son goes to Clemson. Scott and I went to the Clemson game together. We go down there. We're talking to somebody who found out Scott lives in Chicago and said, "What's the best thing about Chicago?" And Scott literally unprompted says, "Oh, Lou Malnati's. Absolutely Lou Malnati's." And I said, "You ain't lying there." Including, Derek, what's the pizza that we had that was the special?
The white pie. For the rest of the year, the
So
white
good.
pie available at Lou Malnati's. 4 Indy area locations. Our favorite in Midtown, Broad Ripple, which is also the dine-in location.
Correct.
West 86th Street across from Babuff. Carmel, and down in Greenwood, also opening soon in Avon. I think by the end of this month.
The dine-in, this time of year in the wintertime, so we were at the dine-in at Lou Malnati's over on Ferguson. I think it's either 6302 or 6203 Ferguson, but right there on the canal in Broad Ripple. And the Lou Malnati's dine-in, it's perfect because it's got an absolutely fantastic outdoor porch for outdoor seating, which is not applicable this time of year. But now that the weather is cold, it's cozy. That's the best thing about it. It's like kind of a wood environment, cozy, great screen, beautiful bar, and then pizza. So whether you want a soft drink, you want a cold beer, you want sandwiches, I got a full menu. Wings are outstanding. And then, of course, the pizza speaks for itself. But this winter, that is the place to be for watching basketball games, football games, whatever it might be, for Lou Malnati's. Derek, for your who's cooking, I'll bet we're going to go with 2 different players. You go first.
I actually didn't choose a player at all. It could be anybody associated with the Colts. So I chose a 30-year-old play caller in Parks Frazier. Because how cool would that be? You get elevated that role, and then the offense puts in 200 rushing, 200 throwing, 400 yards, which doesn't sound like much, right? But for this offense, 400 yards is a lot.
Right.
25 points is a lot for this offense. So a lot of the core principles were Reich principles in that. Like, I don't think Frazier went in and reinvented the wheel. I think the Colts just cleaned some stuff up. And it all functions better.
They said they simplified it.
And it all functions better when the offensive line is playing at a pretty high level. So I think Parks Frazier, man, what a week for him to get thrown into the fire like that and to come out unburned. He's my who's cooking.
I will actually go with, and look, there's going to be a lot of talk about Jonathan Taylor because of the game that he had.
Sure. And I don't think we've picked him this year.
But I'm going to go with a guy I don't think we've picked before. Have we done Paris Campbell?
Yeah. We only did that. The Jacksonville game, I think we did Paris Campbell.
I'm going to give a lot of credit to Paris Campbell because he was written off by a lot of us, myself included, as a bust, quite frankly. Really no fault of his because he couldn't stay healthy, and that's not really ever anybody's fault. But Paris Campbell, when it came down to it, I thought played really well in Las Vegas. He obviously had the touchdown. He had multiple catches over the middle, and he is starting to become a reliable threat. They needed somebody besides Michael Pittman that you knew you could get the ball to. Alec Pierce has shown flashes, but Paris Campbell has found consistency, and kudos to him.
How about Kylan Granson yesterday?
Yeah,
he had
some
one
nice
series
plays.
where I think he caught 3 passes, so maybe he's your new TE1 here moving forward.
Starting tight end.
TE1, yeah.
He already is, Derek.
I mean, clearly it's not Mo Alley, right? He's just disappeared too much, and
Jelani Woods is
just not. He's not complete enough to do it yet. He needs to be more well-rounded. They need to more seasoning for Jelani Woods, but I think he can be a nice player for them as well. We'll take a look around the rest of the NFL in a busy Week 11. What the heck's going on in the NFC? And also the AFC was some upheaval.
Hey, there were some good games yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, don't look now. First place Miami Dolphins once again. We kind of wrote them off after a 3-game losing skid. Now they've won 4 straight.
I have a trivia question for you that you can ponder during the break.
Okay.
You ready? Yesterday, we saw for the first time in the history of the National Football League a quarterback get a rating of 135 or higher for the 3rd straight week. Never been done before. It happened yesterday.
Oh, all right.
What quarterback was it?
I don't know.
Well, you can
talk
think
about it when we come back.
Okay.
Episode 111 of Corey and Schultz continues here on the ISC Sports
111,
Network.
wow. 1 cubed.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
He said it would take me 4 years to graduate. They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune
But I didn't have to listen to them.
because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Rolling right along here.
Did Anthony take the place of Jeff Saturday on this?
Well, that was this year's spot, and then we still run last year's spot. We still have the Saturday one. So every once in a while, that one pops in there too, which is just surreal.
I mean, I love Anthony Calhoun, but Jeff Saturday's the coach of the Colts.
Head coach of the Colts. It's wild.
He'd be running the coach of the Colts, right?
It's wild, yeah. I actually just talked to him at the golf outing.
Anthony
the Bailey
Calhoun
and
or
Wood
Jeff Saturday?
Golf outing. Well, I talk to Anthony fairly often, but Jeff Saturday at the Bailey and Wood golf outing in August.
Mike Wood, a Bailey and Wood, right? BAWFG.com,
That's right.
What's the telephone number?
855-350-HOME.
He is a fan of what NFL team, aside from the Colts, obviously?
The Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins. Yesterday, we saw in the National Football League a quarterback for the first time this season. Actually, I take that back. The first time ever that a quarterback has thrown for a rating of 135 or higher. And if you don't understand QB ratings, neither do I. But the quarterback who did that for the first time in NFL history in 3 straight games,
Tua?
Tua
Yeah, good for him.
Tagovailoa.
I mean, they're playing
The
bad
Miami
teams
Dolphins.
right now, but
Still,
the way the league
7-3
has been, you gotta take care of business, and they've been doing that.
business.
Yeah, Browns, Steelers. Who else have they beaten? They beat somebody else crappy. Raiders maybe in there. Let me go back and look. Dolphins
Tua.
4-game win streak. Steelers, Lions, Bears, Browns. But still, you gotta
Hey,
play
how
the
about
teams
the
that are in front of you.
Lions Bears yesterday? Justin Fields looked really good.
Yeah.
Lions made plays when they had to, though.
Yeah, I mean, and the Bears in Fields, he's an incredible athlete, and
He is.
we already knew that. And he's looking like the best of that group of quarterbacks.
When he Fields is interesting because when he gets he's a rhythm guy, and when he gets going, it's like, man, he's like Steph Curry. He just his passes, he just starts hitting, and you're like, oh my gosh,
you're seeing the
stop with
promise
this guy.
there. Whereas with the other guys, it's just been kind of hit and miss. Like Lawrence has good weeks and bad weeks. Zach Wilson kind of the same thing. Mac Jones is whatever. I mean, Mac Jones is just a guy.
I mean,
think.
Fields is the most dynamic of them. For
Yeah,
sure.
I think with what he's shown so far.
How about the Minnesota Vikings, 8-1,
I know it's wild.
going on the road in Buffalo? They're down. They need a 4th. And did you watch the end of that game?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. They get stopped on 4th and 3 inches to the goal line.
Yeah, I think it's over. And
then they get the fumble recovery, and I mean,
wild game. The Justin Jefferson catch was insane.
Justin Jefferson's a really good
with
player.
the one hand. Yeah, good for the Vikings. It's been a very, very strange year in the NFC because the Rams stink.
Do you like the Vikings?
Sure. I don't dislike the Vikings. I've always felt like the Vikings actually have a lot of parallels to the Pacers.
Yeah,
where they have a good history. Like, very rarely have the Vikings been bad.
You're right.
They've been to like 10 NFC championship games.
Do you like Vikings in general?
And not won a Super Bowl.
Like, Vikings are kind of cool, right?
And the Pacers have been to like 10 East Finals
are there
and not won the
descendants
NBA
of
Finals.
Vikings? Surely there are. Because would they be offended by the imagery of like Ragnar and whatnot? We're not going to lose Vikings, are we? Because I do like Vikings.
No, I don't think we're going to lose it.
What's the difference between a Viking and a pirate?
I think a Viking is a Nordic soldier. It's not like they don't raid without purpose. They are a
So
warrior.
their raids are justified.
When they were at war, they were the Vikings. They're not just randomly.
What they do
choosing
in
to be
non-war
Vikings.
years? Are they not Vikings?
They went back
then?
to their homes. I'm assuming many of them farmed.
So wait a minute.
Whatever you did in the 12th and 13th century.
So Vikings were
Try not to freeze to death.
So Vikings
and make it to 35 years old.
Vikings were farmers that until Paul Revere rode his horse, then they put on their little leather helmets.
Well,
with the
no, hold
horns,
up here.
And then they went pillaging.
Paul Revere is 16th century, right?
No.
17th century.
No.
18th century.
Yes.
Okay, it's one ahead. 18th century. I'm talking more like
I'm looking up the definition.
12th century, 13th century. I'm talking like not the crappy 80s singer, Leif Erikson, but like the Leif Garrett? Was that his name? The famous Viking?
Leif Erikson's the Viking. Leif Garrett's the singer.
No, Leif Erikson was like the soft rock guy, right?
No,
Like,
that's Leif Garrett did Beach Boy covers in the 70s and had an album cover with his shirt unbuttoned.
I'm pretty sure that's Leif Erikson. Leif Garrett was the great Viking warrior.
No.
Like VH1 Behind the Music was Leif Erikson.
No, that was definitely Leif Garrett,
Okay,
where
well,
the
whatever
guy
you
shows
say.
up and they got in a car accident together.
But yeah, the Vikings are pretty good. Let's kind of move on to the next
I'm
thing.
looking up what Vikings are.
Titans have won 6 of their last 7. They're 5
wow,
and
you're
1.
right. The 8th to the 11th centuries.
Yeah. They're 5 and 1 in one-score games. Titans still look like a deeply flawed good team. Like I don't take the Titans very seriously. I don't think they're a championship contender. They just kind of scrape through. What I'm interested in the NFC, Jake, is
It says they raided. They raided countries.
is somebody, when they were at war. If somebody goes on a run here, like are the Niners going to go on a run? Is Brady and the Bucks going to go on a run now?
No.
The Packers? They just kind of saved their season last night. Somebody's going to do something in the NFC. So it's a very strange season, and it's
The Vikings made a lot of homes in Belarus and Ukraine.
I think weird for the Colts to exist in this space, because if you would look at the Colts in a normal year, you'd say this is a team that stinks and is going to be held back by not a good offense and all of that. But they seemingly
There's no evidence that they actually wore the horned helmets. We
can
discussed
win
that,
most
right?
weeks because
It's
by
from a
default,
play.
NFL teams and NFL offenses especially just aren't very good right now. There aren't a lot of quarterbacks and offenses lighting the world on fire. There aren't any, really, that are lighting the world on fire.
This is interesting here. I didn't realize
And
this.
so you don't feel like you have to score 30 points to win.
4 straight years in the 11th century, Vikings got to the NFC title game and lost to the Packers.
While we're on the topic of the Vikings, let's get to our Hoagies and Hops. Hoagie and Hero of the Week.
Gladly.
I have here the
This
Keystone.
looks really good.
Delicious.
Keystone?
Horsey mayo.
Not named for the avenue, but for the state, right?
House-made London broil. Provolone. Lettuce, tomato, shaved onion, and the delicious bread.
You know what? With the Hoagies and Hops, this is what I love about it. You folks in Indiana know that we in Indiana have a distinct pride about home, right? We love Indiana. We love everything to do with Indiana. And so we can respect people that have that same pride about where they come from. And that's what you get for Hoagies and Hops, who were kind enough to bring with us the great sandwich traditions of the Philadelphia area. And yes, the Eagles are coming to town, but what better way to celebrate an Eagles coming to town undefeated, first loss of the year to the Colts than with Hoagies and Hops, right? Are you picking your teeth?
I had a little bit of roast beef in there. Christina's super excited because it only happens once every 8 years, right? That the Eagles come here, and they only play each other once every 4 with the AFC-NFC rotation. She's opening up the restaurant an hour early on Sunday, so 10 a.m. instead of 11. And they're taking hoagie platter orders for Saturday pickup, hoagiesandhops.com, 317-426-5731. 317-426-5731. So even if you're a Colts fan and you want the Colts to eat up the Eagles on Sunday, go ahead and celebrate with a delicious platter.
Can you give the phone number one more time?
317-426-5731.
426-5731. You know what would be great is if Greg could put that right there. 317-426-5731. 317
Or hoagiesandhops.com.
426-5731. Don't talk with your mouth full, please.
I didn't have anything in there.
There it is.
At all. Yep.
See how beautiful that is? On
Love it.
demand.
For hoagie platters. Kirk Cousins is my hero of the week.
Because of the dancing with the shirt off?
He just is one of those guys where, because of his contract, he's been made fun of a lot. He's kind of a weird personality as well. He's sort of awkward.
Is that his tongue sticking out?
I think so.
Is he doing this?
Yeah, a little bit. But Jake,
You know what he's doing with his tongue out? He's thinking, I could use a hoagie right now.
when he was at Michigan State, he wasn't some like all-world. I'm not even sure he was an all-Big Ten player. He might have made like the all-Big Ten second team or something like that. But look at the career that he's carved out for himself. Not only the money that he's made, but he is a top 12-ish NFL starter.
Right.
And the problem is, in most years, you'd say to yourself, well, Kirk Cousins is just good enough to get me to the divisional round
This sandwich
and not
is
beyond
really
that.
good, by the way.
This is the kind of year, and look, I'm not picking the Vikings to do this. This is the sort of year where a Kirk Cousins caliber quarterback, I think you can win a championship with that.
Yes.
Honestly, I do. Because NFL offenses are so down. But the Vikings are 41-30-1 with him as the starter. They're cruising towards his second 10-win season of the year of his career. So what's held back Cousins is that he's always been kind of like an 8-8, 9-7 quarterback. And now this team looks like actually a true contender in a year where there just aren't a lot of contenders. I mean, is anybody taking the Giants seriously? Do you view them as a contender? You know, even the Eagles. I think the Eagles are good. Do I think the Eagles are, 16-0? No.
Do you want to know my Hoagies and Hops hero of the week?
Yeah, hit me.
I'm actually doing this in tribute to Hoagies and Hops because he plays in Philadelphia. Joel Embiid is a unicorn, and when he's healthy, there's reason why you see that Philadelphia's been so patient with him. 59 points and 11 rebounds, Derek. 59 and 11. And he can score in multiple ways. He's driving to the basket. He's hitting outside shots. He's dynamite from the free throw line, which is unusual for a big man. I just thought one of the best performances of the year probably that you're going to see in the NBA. 59-11. I think he had 7 blocks to go along with it. A wonderful, wonderful performance from Joel Embiid, who would be my hero of the week.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're talking about a 50 berg, a near 60 berg, near 60 piece for Embiid, that's
just
incredible.
A 59-point performance. By the way, the meat in this is so tender. Like
It's yeah. See, it's not like roast beef that you get at the grocery
No,
store. Like
this
it's
is-
London broil. It's delicious. I think it's become, and I was a huge roast beef sandwich fan as a kid. It's become my second favorite sandwich on the menu.
Really good.
Yeah,
Really
really
good.
good. Hoagiesandhops.com, 42nd and Boulevard. Again, that phone number, which was up on your screen
426.
just recently.
5731?
5731
Yeah.
for those hoagie platters before Eagles
easy.
and Colts. We'll come back and talk a little bit more football, but of the college variety, is the path opening up once again to Indianapolis for Purdue after a big win over Illinois? Jake and I will discuss when we return. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Why are you just staring?
To prove a point, for those that don't know, I said, do you want to take it?
No.
With 10 seconds left in the commercial break, I said, clearly, do you want to take
You said,
it?
do you want me to take it?
No, that's
Brett
not what
was
I
just
said.
in here. Ask him. He heard it. You said, do you want me to take it? I said, yes.
Do you want to take it?
No. Do you want me to take it?
And I have been around you long enough to know that about 5 seconds into that song, I know that you were expecting me to take it, but I just wanted to prove a point with how awkward the show can look when one host isn't doing what he's supposed to do.
You said, Do you want me to take it? I said yes.
I'm sorry to sabotage the show to
bite
prove a
'cause it's
point.
so spectacular.
But I wanted to prove the point that we need both hosts to carry their weight.
Keep talking.
On this show. And you took a big bite, even though you said you were going to take it, and here we are. So it's just awkward. It's just me staring at the camera. That's what you get to start this segment.
Sandwiches done.
And we're not going to get that in post, so I don't need to do the 3, 2, 1 countdown. I'm not even going to edit that. I know this show's heavily edited. I'm not going to edit that one. Purdue back in the Big Ten West race after beating Illinois. I think what Jeff Brom really needs to figure out.
This show's not edited at all.
What Jeff Brom, well, when I do 3, 2, 1, we'll get that in post. Somebody always gets that in post. We don't just run it as is. Jeff Brom needs to figure out, and this is weird because is this year 6 for Jeff Brom?
Something like that.
This seems to be his teams have a knack for doing this. Why can't they play up all the time?
Play up by play to their competition.
Yeah, why does it seem like when Purdue is up against the wall, they have back-to-back bad performances? They were horrible against Iowa. They were completely crushed in that game.
Yep.
And then you come back with your season on the line in Champaign, and you look terrific. And I think we all know that Purdue has the potential. This is a good football team.
It is.
They have the potential to do this every single week.
And Derek, they are right on the cusp of being. Like,
And yeah, what's frustrating is that it just kind of comes and goes for them. So Purdue's actually in a really advantageous position now because they have the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten, 2 of the worst Power 5 teams in America for their remaining 2 games. They have speaking of lifeless, they have a lifeless Northwestern team, and then they have their annual bucket win over Indiana.
Annual bucket win?
All they
Derek,
need
that
to
game's a
do,
coin flip.
all they need to do now is hope that Iowa stubs their toe. It's frustrating that they're even in a position
Iowa's
to need
got
help.
Minnesota, though, which is no
Yes.
slouch.
And Iowa could absolutely stub their toe against Minnesota. Iowa could lose to Nebraska. I mean, honestly, Jake, Iowa's a team that you kind of never know what you're going to get as well. So the path is very feasible now for Purdue to get back to Indy, but it feels like every time we say that, they have a bad performance. But I just don't think Purdue is capable of playing poorly enough to lose to Northwestern or Indiana.
I feel bad for whoever wins the Big Ten West because it does feel like they're going to be the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, you're jumping into a Sarlacc pit. I mean, essentially,
right?
That's what you're doing.
But it would be cool for Purdue to get there, or Iowa, whoever.
Well, I'd want it to be Purdue because it'd be a huge accomplishment for Purdue to make a Big Ten championship game. Say what you want about the West.
I'm not downplaying it at all. On the other side, then in the East, you have Indiana, and look, same old song.
There's nothing else to say.
Tom Allen ain't it.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Indiana, as always, went out and got super excited because they won like 8 games or 9 games in a season when people couldn't even go to the games. And, they thought they'd arrived. And Indiana, as always, just like Cameron and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, he's going to end up marrying the first girl that, same thing with Indiana football. Tom Allen here, we're going to give you $150 million. And if you decide, like, if we get rid of you, then we also have to buy you a small country in the Caribbean. Okay. They're stuck with him. And once again, 3-0, everybody gets excited. People start buying their $100 pass to be able to tailgate in a grass lot, and then they don't even go into the game because guess why? Because they all know that as soon as the leaves turn, so too does Indiana's season, and they end up 3-9.
Yeah, any time spent on Indiana football now in season is officially a waste of time for anybody. There's just nothing left to say. They're going to go 3-9. They're probably not going to be competitive in any of the games that they have left. I think they've got Michigan State and Purdue. And you just move on to the next thing. I do think that, unlike the basketball situation, I don't think that there's some deep-pocketed donor here to save the day to let Indiana off the hook.
You know why? Because nobody cares.
I don't
nobody
think
cares
that person
about
is there.
Indiana football. That's the problem that Indiana football has. Your athletic department needs to realize that your alumni, when it comes to IU football, other than tailgating out in front of the lots before it gets too bad in terms of the weather, no one
You have to give them reason to care. So I know that, like, it's almost been presented in an accusatory manner towards Indiana football fans of the state of the program, and I'm not mad at IU fans at all.
No, Derek.
I think, yeah.
I love the fact that Indiana saw greatness and seized it. 700 losses. Okay. They had the chance for history, and they went for it. We are going for it. more losses than anybody in the history of Division I college football in the United States, and no one has gotten to 700 until Indiana decided that they wanted to start. Right now, there are two people that you know when you think of the 700 Club, Pat Robertson and Indiana football. That's it. Indiana all by themselves in the 700 Club saw greatness, seized greatness, confirmed greatness, 700 losses.
I don't
Hell
want to think
yes.
about Pat Robertson at all. And then Notre Dame, speaking of Purdue playing up and down, Notre Dame has had a knack for playing down. They looked great in the first half. They threw 5 touchdown passes, and then they had 10 yards in the second half. They did hang on against Navy. They've got BC, which, you know, if they continue to play down, might be a sneaky game for them, and then USC in the season finale. BC's really bad. I don't know how NC State lost that. I didn't watch one second of it, but I saw the box score. And then Ball State fighting Cards.
Yeah,
Tuesday night game. Tomorrow against MAC. They had MAC West leader Toledo last week, and now they've got MAC East leader Ohio this week. Still 1 win away from bowl eligibility. MAC West is now out because Toledo's 2 games ahead with 2.
They'll go to a
plus
bowl, right?
Tiebreak. Well, they got to get to 6. But if they get to 6, they'll go to a bowl. Carson Steele, 198 yards in that close loss to the Rockets. His MAC leading rushing total on the year, 1,295.
The thing about Carson Steele that you love is the fact that he's one of those running backs, Derek, that he gets better as the game goes on. And he just because he's not necessarily a breakaway runner, he's just a pound between the tackles, never gets tired, constant work ethic, grind it out back, which is
wears you down.
Totally
and then
wears
can
you
hit
down.
home runs right after that. Yeah, I do. I do like to think that I wear you down a little bit. Last home game at the Shoe this year for tomorrow night. Look, I know it's going to be cold, right? As Tuesday nights in November usually
That's
are.
what football's all about.
National TV. You have the stage to yourself. MACtion. You got to come and see this. I mean, the beauty of the MAC, every single game is either a thrilling win or a heartbreaking loss.
If you were
every single game that they play.
If you went to Ball State and you were a student
Mm-hmm.
and you were up in the stands and you were going to do your shirts off and each paint a letter,
yeah,
would you spell out Ball State? Would you spell out Cardinals, or would you spell out Chirp Chirp? And would one of you be the hashtag? You don't have that.
Chirp Chirp is too many.
What do you mean?
Ball State probably wouldn't be enough. Well, I'm thinking I had season tickets with 7 other people.
You had 7 friends?
Yeah. Well, I had 6 roommates at IU, so they were forced to be my friend. We signed it on the lease. And we spelled out comb over for Gene Katie's final game at Assembly Hall, which I'm kind of embarrassed about now because I love Gene Katie.
That's 8.
And so, there were me and 7 other people. So we can't fit Chirp Chirp. We couldn't fit Ball State. We'd be 1 short. But we could fit Cards and then an exclamation point. But what I used to do...
Did you do a hash mark?
We did T-shirts the one year because no one else could grow chest hair besides me. But what I would do is probably shave something into my body hair. Like some sort of a letter. Either shave so the skin is the letter, or shave around it so the black curlies are the letter of whatever it's going to be. That's probably what I would choose to do. Because I think kind of putting paint on your body looks a little ridiculous. Looks kind of silly to put like paint on your skin.
When I was in college, I shaved.
So I'd rather just shave it.
I shaved a Superman logo into my chest,
mm-hmm.
but with a J for Super Jake.
You had chest hair?
Oh yeah.
Oh okay.
And then
I didn't know that. I knew you had back hair. I didn't know you had chest hair.
This was when I was like 22. I didn't have back hair yet. It hadn't moved yet.
Yeah.
I shaved it into my chest as a joke. And then the next week we were in intramurals, like in the semifinals, a lot of people there, and the other team forgot to bring their jerseys.
So you had to do shirts and skins?
And they designated us as skins, and I'm like, I can't. I mean, it looked ridiculous. It was a little embarrassing.
It's probably impressive. People were impressed you could do that. What I think is I channel that. If people are laughing, I channel that into jealousy. Because people want what you have and what you can do. And what I can do is grow a proud mane of chest hair. And people want to be able to do that.
No one wants to be able to do
100%
that. 100%
they want to be able to do that.
This is not 1974.
You know what else is coming back? It's coming back big. And I'm going to miss this because this is my beard is part of my brand. But I will easily make the transition to the mustache.
The
mustaches are absolutely 100% coming back.
No, dude,
by 2025, everybody will have mustaches again. It's going to be awesome. And I'm going to have the sickest one out there.
Derek, first off, you're like a year late. That was like last year.
Mustaches?
Yeah.
No. I'm way ahead.
It's like a hipster thing.
Trends. I was way ahead. Remember we did in 2013, we did a segment on skinny jeans and you laughed at me. in 2013. And remember what happened? Boom, skinny jeans swept the country. Like shortly after that.
And
I was on that train early.
You looked ridiculous.
I was on that train early. They look great. My
you
skinny
bought a
jeans
pair
still
of
look amazing.
pea-stained skinny jeans.
Those were khakis, and it could have been coffee. It was kind of like an off brown, off yellow sort of combination. We don't know if it was urine or if it was coffee. Let's get to Love That Play while we're on college football and just did our Cards in 60. Brought to you by our friends at Love Heating and Cooling, 353-2141, love-hvac.com. It is, I'm not sure if you guys know this, it is cold. So if you have any sort of heating problems right now, you got to give Chris, John, and the rest of their great crew at Love Heating and Cooling a call to service your system if it needs it, or just regular maintenance. I mean, I have one of their technicians come out every year and a half or so just to take a look, sign the little sheet, sign off on it, and I never have any problems with the Love HVAC system in my home. They've been around since 1920, so obviously they know exactly what they're doing, and they're going to do great work for you. Love-HVAC.com, 353-2141. And present you our Love That Play every single week. Got the chance to be on the sidelines for the Monon Bell Classic again.
Ring that bell, baby.
A lot of fun. Wabash last year in Crawfordsville. It was a great rally. This game was far less dramatic, but a cathartic blowout win for the DePaul Tigers after suffering last year's heartbreak. This one was never in doubt. They jumped out to a 21-0 lead, a pick six to start the second half, and that's what I was going to focus on, in fact, is the DePaul defense frustrating Liam Thompson all day. 2 pick sixes, both in the second half. Brevin Good and
look at that weather too, man.
Jake Comer were the two that knocked it out. And it was a cold day for sure. It was football weather, but a celebration for DePaul in a big 49-14 win.
Yeah, listen, if you've never been to the Monon Bell game, you got to go at some point. It's just everything about it's awesome. Everything about it's awesome. I thought Wabash actually was I did think going into it, Wabash was going to win. Didn't they used to have a W on the side of their helmet?
They did it to honor the 1977 team.
Okay.
So a donor decided that they were going to have those specific helmets just for that game. So they
cool.
usually have the W.
Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't get the W on the helmet or the game, right?
No, they didn't. No. But it was it's always a special atmosphere. It's amped up. The fans are trading profanities. I mean, it's great. It's very much like an old school.
It is. It's fun.
Sort of a matchup.
It's fun.
Yeah. And it was cool. I mean, we
Did
tweeted
you ever
out
go to a Yale-Harvard game when you were
some
in
highlights.
Connecticut?
No, you know what? I didn't. I went to events at Yale. The state baseball championships.
How far
were
did
at
you live
Yale.
from Yale?
20 minutes.
Okay.
New Haven was up the road. Best pizza. New Haven. We call it a pizza.
Did you think about going to Yale?
Yeah, I considered it. Yeah, I did.
What grade was that eliminated from possibility?
Come on,
for you?
man. No, I did not consider going to Yale.
Okay.
Did not at all. Yeah.
If you had to go to an Ivy League, where would you go?
Ooh. This is weird to say. How many Ivy League schools are there?
8, right?
I've been to every Ivy League campus except Brown. I have stepped foot on every Ivy League campus except Brown.
Let me ask you this. Scott McConnell and I talked about this. If you stopped 1,000 people on the Las Vegas Strip and said, name the Ivy League, which school is the one that most people would get hung up on?
I think Brown would be hard.
Okay.
I don't think people think of Penn right away.
Okay, how about this? What school that's not Ivy League do most people erroneously think is in the Ivy League?
Yeah, that's a good one too.
MIT?
Yeah. I mean, that's an elite school, right? Tufts.
Okay.
Something like that, probably, you'd have to say.
Emory? Is there an Emory?
Atlanta, right? Is Emory?
I'm sorry. What's the one that's in Boston? Not Tufts, but there's another one that starts with an E. Is there an Emerson?
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
That's in Boston?
Colgate?
I didn't know that. Colgate? Yeah, that's in upstate New York,
I think people think of Colgate like in that same breath.
But my buddy, my cousin, Joe Jock, his best friend, Joe Tedesco, was at Cornell. So we went to visit him at Cornell.
That's one that I think a lot of people
when I was in
trip
high
up
school in Ithaca. Carly, my ex-girlfriend, lived in Princeton, New Jersey.
You had a girlfriend named Carly?
Yeah. And so we walked around campus in
Where did
Princeton.
you meet Carly?
I met Carly on a summer trip, and we figured out that we lived like 60 miles apart. So the entire summer of 2001, I was going down the Jersey Turnpike, or we'd meet in the city. It was one or the other.
Where was the summer field trip? You said you met her?
The summer field trip was in, I think we were in Kentucky. It was church related.
This is the oldest trick in the book, Derek. You never met my girlfriend? I met her in summer camp. She lives in Canada.
We have pictures I can show. Actually,
really?
This is kind of morbid. There's a picture of us with the World Trade Centers in the background, July of 2001. Because that was the last summer that I was home. We went in the city. We went to South Street,
I'm not
Seaport,
going to mock that,
downtown, and all of that. And both of our dads worked in the city. She was younger than me, so I was 18. She was 16. Jake, at that time, 2 years apart doesn't feel like that big of a gap.
Were you out of high school?
I had graduated high school like 4 weeks before that. She had a late birthday.
Okay. Just so
she had a fall birthday.
Just so you know, and again, for future reference, the part about the World Trade Center is fine.
Yeah.
I would make some amendments to that story.
Like what?
Oh, I don't know. Like maybe I would make some changes to that story. I mean, the whole it's cockamamie to begin with.
It's 100% true. It happened.
But at least if you're going to make up the story like that, have everything be on the up and up.
Everything was on the up and up.
Okay.
Yeah. She went on to Vanderbilt.
Did she have a driver's license?
Yeah. She did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good at least.
We didn't need it because we took the train, and she would go into Penn Station, and I'd go into Grand Central, and then we'd meet. We used to go to the Toys R Us when that was still around, and that's where we'd meet. It was like FAO Schwartz.
You took your girlfriend to Toys R Us.
No, that was the meeting spot.
Okay.
That we go to when we met in the city. We'd go to the Toys R Us. We didn't
All right,
actually
anyway,
buy anything.
We
at the
should
Toys
probably
R Us.
move along at this point, Derek.
I don't understand what the big deal is.
I don't either, but Chris Hansen standing on the other side of that wall.
That's a perfectly normal relationship.
Have a seat if you don't mind.
She was 1 year under me, grade-wise.
Okay.
But she was 16.
Okay.
So she would have been a senior that next year. And I had just graduated.
She ever have cookies and lemonade, and she was just changing the laundry when you showed up at her house? I'll be right back.
She's like a venture capital fund manager.
Well, she went to Vanderbilt, I should hope.
Now
right? Yeah.
She lives in Miami. She's doing pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of my exes are doing. One of them works for Goldman Sachs, which also in the city. She was also from Jersey. Are doing well for
You have a lot of ex-girlfriends. It seemed like you never had a relationship more than 3-4 weeks.
Well, Carly was just that summer. Megan was like 2 years.
Megan?
I was like half of my college year. Yeah.
What about that Katie Koleski?
No, she never was a girlfriend. Yeah. She never consented to go on a date.
You just called her voicemail all the time.
See, you're calling me a creep. She never consented to go on a date or anything, so nothing ever happened.
Yeah, you just called her voicemail while her family was out of town and listened to her repeatedly on the family interview.
It's not a crime to call somebody's voicemail to hear their voice.
How many times a day?
Crime.
How many times a
I'm
day?
I'm not going to answer that anymore.
14?
You're trying to paint me into a
14
corner here where I'm going to say something I'm going to regret, and I don't want to do it.
Well,
we still have Pacers to talk about. We have other things to get to. I don't even know how we got on. Oh, we were talking about Ivy League schools.
I don't know.
So let me just give you the recap real quick. Yale, I've been to, obviously New Haven. Harvard,
cares.
Boston, I've been to Harvard. Dartmouth, my mother-in-law had hip surgery at Dartmouth Hospital.
Okay.
So we went to Hanover, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And went to Dartmouth. Columbia, it's in the city. I had a friend that lived in the dorms there for a year. Penn, I've been to. I don't remember the circumstances of why I was at Penn, but I was.
It's right in
Princeton that we talked about.
Okay.
Brown, I have not been to. What am I missing?
That's it. You just said 8, right?
Yeah. And Cornell, which when I mentioned
you say
going
Harvard?
to see. Yeah, I went to Boston, and then we went around the grounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just randomly. It's a random fact of my life. Like, you wanted to go to all 50 states. Now I just want to go to Brown just to say that I've been to every Ivy League campus.
Do you know where it is?
In Rhode Island somewhere.
Providence.
Oh, is it really? I didn't even know that it was in Providence. I just knew it was in Rhode Island.
I mean,
A very underrated state.
Everything in Rhode Island's in Providence or Cranston.
No.
Pawtucket.
Newport.
Newport.
Yeah. Beaches there, really nice. We got Pacers to get to.
The
Sage
Biltmore.
move of the week
There's
to
a
get
Biltmore in Newport, isn't there?
Yeah. Okay. You can do the mansion tour, Vanderbilts and all that. Breakers. Chateau Kitchens, Biter Bowl Bleep as well.
Okay.
As we continue. Quarian Schultz. He's jealous. He had no girlfriends. ISC Sports Network.
I did okay.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
They said it would take me 4 years to graduate. They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Here's Jake Query.
What are you angry at me for?
I said, are you taking it? And you nodded. Take it.
I did not nod.
Take it.
I didn't even look at you.
Take the show back out.
Okay,
for once. You demanded, like, you were all angry about it when you started doing another two-man show on the radio that, like, I want to handle the ins and outs, so handle them.
Okay, here we go.
You're banging your fist on it. You're like Irsay at the Monday presser about it.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
We're gonna start all over again. You
Fine.
ready?
Go.
Okay, here we go. Hi there, welcome back. My name is Jake Query. That's Derek Schultz. Exciting news during the break. Carly just graduated from high school. It is time now for
It was Quasivo 2, for God's sake.
Okay.
That was Quasivo 1. It was 1 year.
No, it's not.
Yes,
no.
it was.
No,
It was 1
the
year in
story's
between.
changing. A second ago, it was 2 year difference. Now it's a year.
2 years is in age. She had a late birthday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, if you say so.
God.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get to our next thing?
Carly, by the way, is going to be continuing her education, like many of you can, at WGU Indiana. WGU Indiana is the largest online accredited university in the state of Indiana. Whether you're talking about going back to school, there are 700,000 Hoosiers who have college credits that are still sitting on the shelf. They have no expiration date, those credit hours. You can always go back and finish that degree. If you want to do so, WGU Indiana, an excellent, excellent option for you. Or it might be that you're thinking about going back to school for the first time since high school and you have not entered into the college arena. Don't worry. Several different degree programs from WGU, again, Indiana's largest online accredited university, where you can work on your schedule because ambition never rests. WGU.edu/Indiana is the website where you can get all of that information. And they bring us each and every week our Sage Move of the Week. Derek, there seem to be, from the Colts standpoint, a couple of very obvious answers here.
Oh, we going Colts? I wasn't going to do Colts. We've done enough Colts, I feel like.
I'm just offering it to you as the possibility. If you wanted to say it was
Okay.
a sage move to go with Jeff Saturday, that's a sage move. If you want to say Jeff Saturday's decision to tell Jim Irsay, you know what, I'm going to take this job so long as I have autonomy and I can break away from the Sam Ehlinger experiment, put Matt Ryan back in the starting lineup. That, too, a very sage move. Going to Jonathan Taylor. Parks Frazier deciding, let's dial up a run and let's try to pop him out to the left side and get him going down the sideline. Sage move as well, but you have a different nominee.
I don't think Ehlinger had that decision. I know that narrative is out there. I don't think that had anything I think that's Irsay. I think that.
You think Irsay made both decisions?
I don't think that Saturday comes in and suddenly has. If Irsay really wanted to stick with Ehlinger, they would have.
I think Jeff Saturday has the ability to stare down Irsay that Frank Reich did not have.
I think Irsay could tell Saturday could tell Irsay what he would like to do.
Right.
But I think Irsay agreeing to it is because he wants to validate this. He wants to win now. I 2 weeks ago I wasn't so sure.
Okay, fair.
That's where I think that they are. The sage move of the week and really the sage move of the season so far, despite demands that they trade both of these guys, has been the Pacers holding on to Miles Turner and Buddy Hield because they're going to be able to sell high on both of them if they continue this.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you saw what Miles Turner did during this homestand. He was fantastic.
He's played
He's averaging like 21 a game. He was averaging like 21 and 12. And look, we know that he's not that player. But if Turner
well, why not? If he's
can
doing
be
it, he's that player.
a 16 and 8 guy, that's very, very valuable in the trade market. Buddy Hield's shooting the lights out, 46%, 19 points per game, 41% from three. That's a very valuable asset to have. And the Pacers could choose to keep both of them. I don't think that's going to happen. But Pacers are in a very, very good spot here. People are complaining about the fact that they're winning. I don't think this is a bad thing. I think you already have the makings of your young core. I don't think you need the number one pick to keep going here.
Right.
You already have your backcourt of the future in Halliburton and Mathurin with the way that they've played
there.
so far. And Turner and Hield, you're going to be able to flip into very nice pieces, far better than Russell Westbrook and unprotected first-round picks.
Can you say Buddy's last name again?
Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield.
Hield.
Buddy Hield.
But you're saying yield.
Buddy Hield.
No, you're saying Buddy Yield.
Buddy Hield.
You're saying it like it's like Bud.
It's like a soft H. It's not like a healed. Buddy Hield.
No.
You got to say it just really quick.
No, Buddy Hield.
Buddy Hield.
Like he was hurt. Now he's healthy. He healed.
Buddy Hield. I'm saying it. The H is in there. It's soft. I'm a professional broadcaster, Jake. I know what I'm doing. Okay? I know exactly what I'm doing here.
Yeah, you and Bill Cowher, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Bill in the chin. I don't mean to get off track here.
You have a bad habit of doing that.
I understand the Jeff Saturday, and we did it on the show, right? And I've got to wear, like, if Jeff Saturday ends up being this huge success, people are going to come back at me because I had that tweet last week that it's absolutely ridiculous that he's going to – look, and it is. I thought at the time, and I still do, that it's kind of ridiculous that Jeff Saturday was just handed an NFL head coaching job. That said, there are so many egregious, travesty-level, terrible things that happen in the NFL. Save your anger for that.
Fair.
Right? Save your anger for Deshaun Watson or what Ray Rice did or Dan Snyder. Like,
Bill Cowher's
that's
upset.
the stuff that's worth the anger.
Derek, Bill Cowher is upset because the good old boy club got interrupted.
Yeah.
They didn't go to the same level of retread 9 and 8 guys like Ron Rivera and, Jeff Fisher and Sean Payton. I mean, whatever. But they went outside the box.
Isn't it funny how
they broke guy code?
Seemingly all week long, Colts fans were like, "Oh God, this is embarrassing," and they're gonna make fun of us. And then when people start making fun of it and getting angry, nobody circles the wagons better us against the world than Indianapolis sports fans. And now it became see Bill Cowher and see Joe Thomas and whoever else that doubted this thing. We were right the whole time. Whereas those same people were pointing and laughing at the Colts for doing it on Monday and Tuesday.
Fair.
It's just funny how that shifts once the national narrative kind of shifts. Yeah, I don't really want to look directly into Sage's eyes.
I love Sage, man. I'd like to have a pet owl.
Pacers watchability-wise has been just off the charts this year.
Great.
I'll go to a game with you sometime. Just let me know. Let me know. And I'm happy to go.
I have no say in that.
You invited me. You always invited me last year at like the worst possible times. Ashley was always working like every night, and I think one time you called me at like 6:55 for a 7:00 tip against the Pistons or something, and I was like, "No, man, like we're already like turning down for bedtime." My 5-year-old, I can't drop what I'm doing right now and go to the Pistons Pacers game with you. And I know you were heartbroken because you want to go to the game with your best friend, but I'd like to go at some point.
By the way,
later this year.
I got to tell you, this.
Warriors game. You have anything going on for the Warriors game? Go ahead and do that one.
I'll look at the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I did take someone to the game a couple of games ago, and after the game, we're leaving, and we're going through the little restaurant area, and somebody stopped. I'm chatting with somebody, and the person that I took to the game didn't know Shannon well. Had just met Shannon, and said, "Well, where did Jake go?" And she said, "Oh, somebody stopped him, whatever." And this person said, like, "Well, does that that happens a lot or what?" And she said, "Well, I mean, every once in a while." And this person said, "Yeah, I mean, that probably gets old, but you probably should stick by him because clearly he's connected because, I mean, let's face it, that's how you ended up with these tickets."
Oh, no. Yeah. Uh-oh. You're going to have to tell me off the air who that was. Is it somebody that I know?
I don't. I'll tell you.
Okay. Yeah. Because
she got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
But they are her tickets, not mine.
Shannon's last name is Walsh, and I'll let you guys add that up at home.
Yeah, she has very good.
If there are any important figures from Pacers history with the last name Walsh, you can probably add 2 and 2 together there. We got Chateau Kitchen's Bite or Bold Believe coming up. Sorry, I don't know why I grabbed the tomato and started tossing in the air. We still love our friends at Lou Malnati's Pizza.
We do.
Final segment of the show when we return. It's Query and Schultz, and Jake's going to take it out this time.
I am?
Without screw-ups here on ISC Sports
okay.
Network.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Hi there. My name is Jake Query. Sitting to my left is Derek Schultz. This is Query and Schultz, a weekly podcast and television program on the ISC Sports Network, as well as Comcast Channel 81. We thank you for joining us on this, episode number 111 of this fine, non-award-winning program. We do, however, hope to win some awards someday and hope that eventually our old bosses will gift us a 2-month-from-expiring gift card that we could use somewhere before, of course, it expires because they have no one else to give it to. That's what happened the last time that we ever won an award, and Derek has talked about it ever since. Thank you for joining our program, and I hope that bounce back was appropriate.
Let me ask you a question.
Derek?
Why are you the way you are?
What do you mean?
It's like that scene from The Office where, Toby comes in and gets mad.
I don't know. I've never seen the show.
On
Which
Casino
one's
Night,
Toby?
and he's in HR, and Michael
Who plays
hates him.
Toby?
I don't know what his name is, the guy that does it. And Michael says, I hate
Which
so
one's
much
Michael?
about the things that you choose to be. Steve Carell's character.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of how I feel. Like, you can't just do something and just be normal. Like, I asked you to come back and just do a normal rejoin. You've biffed like 5 of them during this show today, and you couldn't just do it. You had to be a smartass about it and do like the whole can thing. First off, we've won awards. And yes, those gift certificates expired in 72 hours. But I rushed over to that diamond store, and we got what we needed to out of those gift cards.
First off, I don't appreciate the language.
Okay.
It's a family program.
Sure. PG-13 is what I say.
Well, he's right here.
Mm-hmm. There it is, yeah.
See?
Paul
PG-13.
George, yep, there he is.
See? Number.
We should probably not display that one. People don't like Paul George in this city.
I don't. Okay.
Paul George will always be persona non grata in Indy.
Who is a bigger villain, Paul George or Victor Oladipo?
Paul George. Oladipo still has the fond Indy IU memories, which I think make it a little bit more forgivable. I think people viewed Paul George as an absolute backstabber.
Okay.
Whereas Oladipo just kind of got a little into himself. I think most people have maybe not forgiven either guy, but are far more willing to forgive Oladipo than George.
It is time, Derek, is it not, for talking about Chateau
Sure
Kitchen?
is. Chateau Kitchen's the best in the business. Ryan, our project manager. Megan, our project designer. Steven, the owner of the whole shabazz. And they've got lots of other project managers and designers, and their crew is just fantastic. They have another guy, Ryan, who's on their crew, who always talks to James. James wants to be builder when he grows up, just like Ryan. And he lays tile and does all that. He's just a great dude, just a big teddy bear of a guy. And that's what you get with my friends at Chateau Kitchens. The workers themselves, even the people that aren't even employed, just contracted out by Chateau Kitchens, are great folks. ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook to see the before and after pictures. Yes, kitchens are their specialty, but they can do anything on the interior of your home. Dens, man caves, basements.
Do you have a man cave?
No. My wife originally said the basement was the only place to keep all my stuff, and then she started putting stuff down there. So,
Like what?
well, her stupid Red Sox stuff. So I've got a signed picture of Carl Yastrzemski downstairs.
That's cool.
I've got a Mike Greenwell autograph ball. Remember Mike Greenwell?
Oh, yeah.
Who has a Mike Greenwell autograph
He was a good
ball?
player. Good hitter.
She really likes Mo Vaughn.
Yeah. What about David Ortiz? Doesn't she like him?
Oh, God. Yeah, it's just the worst. We went to his last season. We went to Fenway, and she got a framed, she framed the program, and it was Big Poppy's sunglass night at Fenway, so we got Big Poppy's sunglass. They're in the frame, and it's awful. It's just, ugh. My stuff's far more tasteful. I have Derek Jeter cereal, things like that are my Patrick Ewing starting lineup figurines.
Derek Jeter cereal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Comes with a gift bag in the morning, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a nice thing. I never opened the box because it's a collector's item, so I'm not sure what's in there besides bran flakes. I'm not sure what else is in there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Here's what we do with Buy or Bull Bleep. I give a statement. We go back and forth whether we buy it or it's Bull Bleep. You ready for statement 1?
Derek Jeter was overrated, by the way.
Look, I don't disagree, but I think the people that say that hard correct the other way. The thought that, if Derek Jeter was on the Kansas City Royals, he wouldn't even be a Hall of Famer is complete nonsense. He had the 6th most hits ever in baseball history. Clearly he's a Hall of Fame. Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame.
He was a great player, and I think he was a very good defender that people think was an elite defender.
I think people think that he's more elite because he was the face at the Yankees.
Right.
And that's where I'm in agreement.
Can you imagine how good life must have been for him?
Oh yeah, I mean he did well for himself, like I did all those summers with all those girls from Jersey. Jeff Saturday, we kind of touched on this earlier in the show, so I think you know what both of our answers are going to be.
You know, he used to get rides home for the gals, which
okay. Let's get to biter bull bleep here.
Which Carly needed.
Okay, let's pause it. She had at least her learner's permit. I can vouch for that.
So as long as you were in the car.
Yeah, because I remember she had a purse and asked me for lip balm one time, and then there was a learner's permit, I think, in there. Jeff Saturday will be part of this franchise for a very long time, even if he's not the permanent head coach. Bite or bowl.
I don't know about very long time, but I think he will be with the franchise beyond just his head coaching interim duties. Buy it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he's suddenly not part of the franchise at all next year in some capacity. Wouldn't it just be wild if he's the permanent head coach of this team? I mean, it'd just be crazy.
It's possible.
It'd just be
entirely
crazy,
possible.
Right?
Entirely possible.
I'm trying to
I hear you.
Fathom all of this happening. I'm just trying to untangle the web in my brain because of what the last 7-8 days have been for the Colts. Yeah, I buy it. Statement 2, the Super Bowl champion will be an AFC team. Buy it or bull bleep?
I will buy that.
So let's kind of group them together.
Minnesota's got the best record in the league. Philadelphia, I take it back. Philadelphia's got the best record. Minnesota's the only one-loss team in the league. But I think still
I mean, what are we talking about? Bills, Titans.
Buffalo's got 3 losses.
Chiefs, Dolphins. Who else even? Ravens? We're not really talking about the Ravens.
The team that I kept thinking was going to take off and it just hadn't happened is the Chargers.
I know, yeah. They've been held back. And then in the NFC, you've probably got some combo of the Vikings, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants.
Seattle?
I think you have to put Tampa there because they're probably going to win that division. So at least you know they're going to be in the playoffs.
I guess.
And it's Brady, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's playing terribly. It's a weird year, man.
Can you imagine if
it's a weird
Can
year.
you imagine if the Bucs go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Just watch it be like Chiefs Bucks after this year, and you're like, come on, man. Give me something fresh and new.
Give me Bills and Vikings again. That'd be awesome.
I think pound for pound, I'd still probably take the Bills and Chiefs over anybody else. So I guess I have to say I'd buy it.
Over the Vikings or the Eagles?
Yeah, but it's not like the AFC has some deep pool to choose from because the North's not very good. Pittsburgh's way off, and Cincinnati doesn't look that great.
I mean, Baltimore's decent. Baltimore could win the AFC.
I think there's a really good chance that we have just a really nondescript Super Bowl participant on both sides and then a nondescript winner. This just feels like a year where no one is great. They're just not a great team. Like even Philly, I think they're very good. I don't think they're great. I think the Bills are very good. I don't think they're great. I think the Chiefs are very good. I don't think they're great. Statement 3. This offseason, we'll see a no-experience NFL head coaching hire in the next cycle. Buy it or bull bleep?
Outside of Indianapolis?
Yeah. So I'm talking like
Schultz.
Somebody else is going to do this right now.
Nobody wants to break code, man. Nobody wants to break code.
Well, who would be? The Panthers would have an opening. Who else is on kind of the chopping block right now in the NFL? I think the Raiders might have an opening.
The Raiders, yeah. Denver
might have an opening. Is Hackett a first-year head coach? Sorry, I don't.
I think that's right.
Okay, so he'd be one and done.
I mean, Detroit's always a possibility.
Yeah.
Green Bay.
Yeah, maybe.
Washington.
Washington, you think kind of every year might have a coaching change. I think Rivera's a little safer than.
Maybe.
I think they like him because he's not controversial.
Right.
Whereas they have a lot of controversy swirling. I don't think McVay is going to get fired. A year removed?
Yeah,
no, I think you chalk it up to just whatever, just a down year. Here's the thing about the Rams too. I keep saying this. I don't want to get too off track. When you go all in like they did,
yeah, you're right.
The goal is to
win
win
Piper, though.
one title.
Yeah.
The goal is to win one. They got their one. It's kind of like LeBron and the Lakers. I know it's a mess. They got their one.
Yeah.
So who cares? I just feel like anything else that you do from there is great. You're not guaranteed a dynasty. A lot of teams go all in and they don't even get one.
Right.
So, whatever. I don't think it's a big deal. The Rams being 3-6, the Lakers being a mess, I treat it much less of a catastrophe than other people do. Thanks to all of our great sponsors of this show. I got the Ball State football here. Sorry, wasn't much of an athlete. Lou Malnati's,
Shock.
Bailey and Wood Financial Group, Hoagies and Hops, Love Heating and Cooling, WGU Indiana,
Chateau Kitchen.
Chateau Kitchens. Thanks to all of them. And thanks to you guys for putting up with us and watching this show. And
You mentioned Love Heating and Air?
listening
You mentioned
to
Hoagie and Hops?
my rich girlfriend history.
Did you mention Bailey and Wood?
I did. I mentioned all of them. I'm a
Chateau
professional
Kitchens?
broadcaster. Yes, we just did it.
Ball
Thanks
State?
to Vince. Thanks to Rake. Thanks to
Lou
Jordan if
Malnati's?
he's back there somewhere. For Jake Corey, I'm Derek Schultz. We'll see you for episode 112.
Wow. Amazing.
Peaches and Cream next week here on the ISC Sports Network. Remember the band 112?